And now we're excited to welcome recording artist Joy Villa. Joy made headlines earlier this year for wearing a Trump-themed Grammy dress, or a Trump-themed dress to the Grammys. Her newest song is called Make America Great Again, and it debuted on our country's birthday, July 4th. Let's take a listen.
Yeah, the future depends on us, so we gotta wake up, gotta shake it up now, and let's make America great again. We can come back twice as strong.
Nice. All right, welcome, Joy.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Hi. It's
So
great to be here.
you're here because you just dropped this new song.
That's
Tell us
right.
about the song. We have an article also on Bulldog Global with a more extended interview that you guys should check out. But one thing that you said in your interview, Joy, was that you thought of this as just a way to bring people together. And yes, it is a campaign slogan, but you were hoping that by having a song and music and creativity, that this is a way to at least have people have some empathy for your perspective.
Exactly. And that article is awesome, by the way. You guys should definitely check it out, everybody. But it is a way to show patriotism and to show a love for the country that's not knocking anybody else. That's how I feel my song is. And the message is, I love America. I think we can come back twice as strong. I think we really can make America great again. Yes, I'm a Trump supporter, but that doesn't mean everyone else has to be. I think there's room in the narrative for every voice. But when we start using violence or bullying or, bully tactics and all these things we see, a lot from the left to the right and some from the right to the left, it becomes just, there's no discussion anymore. It's just hate, it's just negativity. So my art as an artist, my responsibility is to bring that light out. And that's what I'm hoping that this song does, is a message of hope and national pride in a good way. That's gonna help people just join together and be happy about the future rather than bleak.
I think it's great. I was telling Carrie before the show that part of my job on Hillary Clinton's campaign was managing all of the celebrity engagement. So Katy Perry, Beyonce, Jay-Z all did concerts for us. They were very, avid supporters of Hillary and on the campaign trail. So I guess I have more probably of a comment than rather a question, but I do think it's important for all artists, especially at this time. That's one of the reasons why I applaud you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
To try to bring our country together.
Absolutely.
When you see politicians grappling back and forth and arguing, and Washington, nothing can get done there. When you see artists who are coming together and saying, okay, guys, like Donald Trump is our president, we may not agree, but let's at least try to, not even come together to, in my view, to necessarily support him, but let's come together, unite the country, and like you said, put a stop to bullying, show that we have far more in common than not.
Exactly.
So
let's at least hear what he has to say. And I think that middle ground is not represented enough, just like you said. I feel like a lot of celebrities, unfortunately, are pushing the, down with the government and we want to rebel. And that does nothing. Right. Blow up the White House, the severed head. We don't even have to name names. We all get those images. They're
Look, and you're seeing that on both
images.
sides, by the way, as well. I mean, you have celebrities that I will go unnamed who are Donald Trump supporters who support the far right, who have said some really vitriolic things. So for those on the left and far left and for those on the far right, I think it's very important to tame down those comments because they do have influence, and unfortunately sometimes they have consequences.
Oh yeah, I think they always have consequences, and I agree that any hate message of any kind is not going to get any message of love and compassion through. So if you have a cause, and that's what I talked about in Carrie's article, if you have a cause and you want to push it, whatever cause that is, whatever belief system you want to, talk about and get a conversation going, you want it to be out there, using a message of hate, fear, pain, aggression never gets it done. Your cause just gets lost in the fray. So it is a responsibility, especially as artists and as celebrities, I think. They have to come up and say, hey, listen, let's have peace, let's have unity. I may not like the guy, but let's not hate others. Or I may not have liked Hillary, but let's not hate her followers. There has to be that dialogue. I definitely believe that from both sides.
Right. And so, Joy, in terms of your political evolution, you have been a Bernie Sanders supporter. So how did you evolve from that over to Donald Trump?
Well, it's funny because at that time, I was very confused politically because I was raised conservative and always had Fox News on in the house. And then I grew up and I was like, maybe politics are not for me. I didn't see any voice that I could definitely, latch on to. I didn't see anybody who was a role model for me. So when this Bernie Sanders thing came up, I was overseas, by the way, and all I saw were the negative headlines about Trump, negative headlines about Hillary. I thought, everybody's going crazy over my country. What is going on? I was touring, and several of my friends were pro Bernie Sanders. And so I thought, well, Bernie Sanders seems like he's the guy who's going to make change. And I realized quickly that he's not. For me, he's definitely more on a different end. He's more on a socialistic end, and I'm definitely more of a conservative. And I've kind of come back to those roots a little bit later in the game and realized it's not just what my parents taught me, but it's actually what I believe and what I use. And I see so many more young Republican voices, conservative, libertarian voices, that it really gives me hope for the future. So I say that I'm totally conservative, but I'm more like in the middle. I'm a middle conservative person.
Yeah, you had said there was a purple ground.
There's a purple ground, absolutely. And that's sort of my cause, is I want to bring the red and the blue together, because there's certain causes that we overlap on. And I think only then can we get things done in this country, because you're going to have 50-50. If you say, oh, we have to all be Republican, 50% are going to say, no, I'm Democrat. You can't say we have to all be Democrat. 50% are going to say I'm Republican. So you have to say, okay, well, let's blend some of those causes together.
And I think you're right. I mean, we have far more commonality than we have, differences. So a couple comments that I'll read here.
Okay.
Pam Little says, our president's tweeting sets a horrible example, not an encouragement to come together at all. I mean,
Yeah,
do you
what
agree?
what's my
What do you
comments?
think?
I don't agree with that. I don't think it sets a horrible example. I think that he sets a radical example for sure. It's not something that we're used to seeing, that the president tweets. And also his tweets are very bold. They're very outrageous, right? And they definitely can be offensive to some people.
Extremely.
I can totally see how people can say, oh, that's not, my thing, and that's offensive. But I also see that he's a New Yorker. He's always been loudmouth. He's been a celebrity for a long time. He's always said what he thinks. He's not a politician. He's not polished and sort of greased in those lines to be more of a PR type of person, for better or for worse. And I personally, I don't get offended by that, because, I have far worse locker talk amongst my friends. I'm not somebody who's like easily offended, and I think it's really funny, and I think he does a lot of this stuff on purpose because he knows it's going to offend a lot of people.
Do you think, as our president, that he should be tweeting about MSNBC co-hosts? I mean, does that
It's
seem
his
something that
prerogative.
you want your president to focus on?
I want my president to be himself. I don't want to put him in a box. And me personally, I think that, sure, sometimes when he does those things, he gives more attention to them. I wouldn't personally do that. If someone were attacking me, and I get death threats, I get attacks all the time, I would never retweet those people and say something about that, right? I wouldn't name those names, because then they get all the attention that they're seeking. But I think our president is doing his own thing, so I can't criticize him for what he's doing. I'm like, hey, I wouldn't do it, but I don't knock it, because it does stir up a lot of controversy. It gets the news sources talking, and as they're talking about that, he's getting some stuff done behind the scenes.
So on Periscope, Alan Amade says, Joy, thank you for supporting Trump, #MAGA.
Awesome.
But Rhonda Lee Deschamps says, I agree with the previous commenter on Facebook. The president does not set a good example for us. He promotes aggression and bullying. Hearing that slogan of Make America Great Again just gets my back up because of his behavior.
Well, I understand that. I can definitely understand someone else would be opposed to it. Like I said, I don't agree, but
Right. But what about at his
they have the
rally
right to say
when he
that
was
too.
saying that we should take people out on a stretcher at his rally? Is that appropriate?
Well, we can attack so many different things. We can also go and attack the things like, is it appropriate, the violence that's people saying they want to assassinate him and all those things? Like, obviously that's not appropriate.
And the violence that he has perpetuated
well,
at his rallies.
I don't think that he's perpetuated violence at his rallies. I think that he is definitely a knockdown, drag out warrior type. And I think I like that. I think he's very bold. And for me, it's not offensive. So I can understand someone else would be offended about it, but I'm not a sensitive type like that. For someone to offend me, it would have to be a targeted, evil approach. It would have to be like an actual death threat, a literal, I'm going to kill you, or I hate you, like a literal sense of that. Not something that could be interpreted as a joke or could be interpreted as something that is a little bit rough. Again, I'm not excusing anything he said or any actions because
Sure.
he's his own person.
Well, he's certainly
But I'm not offended personally.
First Amendment warrior in many ways.
Absolutely.
Amy Spears says, "Great song, Joy. I will have to check it out."
Awesome. Thanks,
and
Amy.
Joy, you are certainly a very bold woman, and we're glad to have you here today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Thanks, Joy.
Yeah, thank you, ladies. Good to meet you too.
Great. We'll have to.